So let's bring up Dan Kinem, Levi Peretic, guys responsible for Just Your Tracking. Big round of applause for these guys. Welcome, you guys. So you did an amazing job in this. I think it's kind of a huge accomplishment when you think that. I mean, this is a very DIY movie. It's very much you did it all yourselves, and I guess you guys are collectors too, obviously.
Yep.
So how did the transition come about from being collectors and being obsessed with collecting VHS tapes to going to actually making a film about them?
Well, being like a huge collector, I just started realizing like how many movies weren't on DVD and like how important the format really was, because like many people, I kind of got rid of my VHS collection when DVD came out. I was like, oh, all these are going to come out and like I don't need VHS anymore. And then slowly but surely I realized like, well, this isn't out. And I was like, this is something that like really matters. This is something that should be archived. And through myself collecting, I started meeting other collectors and started realizing that they were entertaining enough and passionate enough and like interesting enough to hold a movie to kind of tell people and remind people why the format was so special and important. So from that point we were like, all right, full speed ahead, I guess. Let's get as many interviews as we can and kind of try and capture all of it.
So how did you guys come together? Were you guys collecting separately at that point? Did you meet through making this movie? Did you know beforehand?
We met at college
Okay.
through like a mutual friend. And I was one of those people, like before we met, I never thought twice about VHS.
Mm-hmm.
And it was through Dan that he like opened me to that world that like, oh, this stuff's important, And so we met, and I started doing videos for his website, VH Shitfest.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm the official tech guy at VH Shitfest, if you didn't know. And so we were doing that, and we went to New York, and we were doing interviews for what was going to be a YouTube video for the site called VH Shit Quest. And we were like interviewing collectors such as Matt Desiderio, Earl Kess, and we got some other people in there like Lloyd Kaufman. And it was during that first round of interviews where we were actually driving back from New York City in the middle of January, like driving straight into a snowstorm through Pennsylvania. And we like were thinking about the whole trip and the experience and how passionately people were talking about tapes and how like I guess important it was for people to see this footage. So we decided that from that point, well, why don't we make a full movie? And that's what happened. It was that car ride, and that's when we decided the title too. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we like had a bunch of like titles like written down. One of them was somebody was like, "Be Kind, Rewind," and then we're like, "No, that's that Jack Black movie that no one cares about." And we Just Your Tracking came up, and we were like, "Well, we'll think of something better," and nothing better came.
That was a good choice. So one of the things I really loved about this, and I see it's very refreshing, is that it comes from such a pure place. Like, you're just two guys that are friends. You're making this movie, like ulterior motives, like we're gonna get into Sundance with this thing. It's gonna be our big break. This is our movie. It's like you just made this out of a pure love. And so, how long did it take you to put this together? Because that sounds like, it's a quest. It's like, finding all these people driving around the country, and how long did it take, and how did you do it? Like, what was going on in your life where you were able to actually achieve this?
It took about a year, start to finish. Started filming January 2012, and finished in April.
Yeah, and we're both full-time college students while he just graduated.
I just graduated.
And so we had to squeeze all this filming in between classes, and like we did some of it over the summer, and like all the editing too. So like, we really like were pushed. Like, we really wanted to get this out, and like we were willing to sacrifice our grades.
Yeah, my last semester of like college, like completely, like my GPA like completely dropped because like I would like get back from classes like every day at like 5:30. I'd edit until 9, and then I had a job working nights. I'd work from 1 a.m. to 5 a.m. like 3 nights a week. So like I would just be like constantly editing. I was having like dreams about like editing. I remember I had this one dream where we were like having a hard time finding footage, and I dreamt we had this footage from a video store that was now like an ice cream parlor, but they still like had their tapes. And I was like in the dream, like, this is the footage that we needed, you know? And then I woke up and no ice cream parlor video store, but
this is both of our first feature-length movies. He directed a bunch of shorts, and I've never really done anything, but I mean, this idea just came to us, and we were like, this is perfect. Like, this is something we just need to do. I mean, whether it turns into anything, we just wanted to get this story seen by as many people as possible. So.
Good for you. Great. I was wondering, do you guys have the dream that like every VHS collector has the dream where you're sleeping and then you go into a video store that does everything that you've ever wanted in your life?
Definitely.
And related to that, did that actually happen to you on your travels? Because you guys were traveling everywhere, so you had a lot of opportunities to go places. Did it happen where you found one and you're like, this movie made it possible so I could find, you know, whatever tape you're looking for?
I didn't find, I mean, we went to a lot of video stores, we called a lot of video stores, but I didn't find like just one that was amazing. We found some where I did buy like some tapes and some like great stories of parts of like video store owners that didn't want to sell, and we had to like talk to them for an hour and like become friends with them, and then like they let us in the back and stuff like that. But like, I mean, more so I guess on this trip already, we've bought maybe like 200 tapes, and like we've actually had like good luck finding stuff, which is getting harder and harder to do. But yeah, no like fulfilling my dream, like that store doesn't exist anymore. Right. It can't. Well, maybe it does. Maybe we'll find it.
You got like 25 more days to find out. Right?
Yeah, true. I was expecting Montana to deliver.
There's going to be nothing there.
Do you guys own Tales from the Dead Zone, either of you?
No. The producer of the movie who's in this talking about finding it, he owns it, and that's as close to owning it as I've gotten. So.
Yeah, he's the one who bought it for $3.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Does anybody in the audience own Tales from the Dead Zone here in Austin? No one. That is rare. Zach doesn't even have it.
Yeah. It's so rare.
So yeah, questions for these guys. Right there. Hit it.
Could you explain to the audience what the deal with Jerry Maguire is?
That didn't like make it into the movie, but we have like a whole segment on like people talking about Jerry Maguire, especially Everything Is Terrible, showing off their Jerry Maguire pyramids and their
5,000 plus Jerry Maguires,
which will be like special features or like maybe in an extended cut or something. But yeah, basically that had to have been like the most produced VHS, like going into any thrift shops or anywhere you're going to find a Jerry Maguire.
At least like 2 Jerry Maguires.
And it gets annoying like after a while, just you keep seeing it, and sometimes you see like 20 copies, and sometimes I've had like friends of mine that know nothing about VHS like send me pictures where they'll line up like 20 of them just as like a joke, and I mean they realize it themselves without knowing anything, so like it is that like abundant, it's that annoying, like it's, I don't know why they produced that many of them.
Yeah, there was one of like the most, like it has to be one of the most produced VHSs of like all time, along with Titanic, that little 2-set box, Jurassic Park. And
what are they doing with this?
Good question.
Everything Is Terrible, their ultimate goal. Well, originally they had like a screening, and they thought, boy, wouldn't it be funny if we just hand out Jerry Maguire's at the screening they did in Los Angeles. And they went to Amoeba Records, and they said, hey, do you have any Jerry Maguire's? And they said, hold on 1 minute. And they came back apparently with like a cart full of 200 Jerry Maguire tapes. So like they brought them to the screening, and then they were like passing them out, and like nobody like got the joke, but they had like a bunch left over. And so they just started keeping them, and they started a thing called Jerry Watch, where if you see a lot of Jerrys in the wild, they call them herds of Jerrys. Send in your pictures. But then they said,
or buy them and send them.
Oh yeah, because what they decided to do was they want to. Their ultimate goal, whether or not this will happen or not, is to open up a video store that sells only Jerry as sort of like a Dadaist art piece, as they describe. And they would have like some punk teen at the counter like chewing gum, and like somebody walks in, it's like, hey, all you have is Jerry Maguire's, and they just are like, what? They just like shrug it off.
There's the end. Like,
Yeah.
the
So
joke.
like, if you find Jerry Maguire's, you can send it to Everything Is Terrible, and like they have like I guess a roster, I guess you'd call it, of like people who have sent as many Jerrys to them, and I think like the most is like somebody sent like 250 to them. Like,
One person?
Yeah, like one person. Like you can like climb the scoreboard, I guess, you know, and so they have 5,000 now, and they've done some like hilarious things with them. Like they were like interviewed, and they just like completely like filled a room with them, and yeah, that's Jerry Maguire.
Right there.
Alright, so when it comes to preserving these tapes, especially for people that have like 2,000 plus collections, what the hell? Like, especially if you have to go like do something, like what do these people do to preserve these tapes? Do they do anything at all? Do they just let them shelf them on?
Well, a lot of people will like transfer them to DVD-R, or they'll put them on like torrent sites if they're especially rare. Like if you find a copy and can't find any reviews online or whatever. I mean, some people like will do reviews and stuff like Bleeding Skull, and like kind of get the word out there that this movie exists, whether it's like terrible or great. And so all that like helps, of course. And then other people that, I mean, don't really do that, but they like take them, put them in their collection, and actually like make sure that they don't get like thrown out or you know, just messed up in some way, which like all of that really helps, because like you hear tons of stories about like rare, maybe like regional, like shot on video movies that like nobody had ever seen. There might be one copy, or they were just lost for good. So that's another reason why like VHS is something that you need to like try and search for. I mean, these movies like are important, whether they're bad technically or not. Like, I mean, people made these movies, and so they're worth getting. And I mean, for me, I try and transfer a lot of mine, or like pull clips from them at least, and take like good care of them, share them with my friends and stuff, so other people can enjoy them.
Right there.
Any comments or insight on the Vita Halloween that supposedly sold for 13 grand on eBay?
Yeah, that is definitely like a fluke. I feel like obviously like that's not worth that much. I mean, tapes are worth whatever people will pay for them, I guess, but I feel like something was up with that, obviously. Like
A bunch of friends like all bidding on it,
Yeah.
supposedly jacking it up to 13 grand.
yeah, I doubt the person who won it paid, honestly, and if another one pops up, I highly doubt it's gonna go for that much. And yeah, I don't believe it. So
Yeah, it seems weird to me too. Yeah. Anybody else another question? Right there.
For both of you, what is your holy grail tape that you want to find?
You want to go first? Let me think of that.
All right, yeah, I'll let you think. I did have, like, my holy grail was Splatter Farm, and I found that really recently. I mean, I guess, like, Quadet is up there. I really want to find a movie called Streets of Death, and, like, there's, like, a specific, like, cover that I'm just, like, dying to find. It's in, like, a clamshell.
Is the one with the lady like this? And she-
No,
The other one?
it's, like, a different one. Like, it's, like, a painted cover.
Oh.
And that one is insanely hard to find. And then there's this one that's like going to sound like odd, but it's called like Going Hog Wild. If anyone has this, it's like an obese like wrestling thing, and like, but it's like, I don't know, like it's on a company that I collect, and like now through like trying to complete that company, like I've just become kind of like obsessed with seeing this and like just owning this. I've never seen the cover art, but people have said they've seen it, and one person has the tape only, so if anyone ever comes across that, let me know.
If you find it, you should make a second movie just about Going Hog Wild.
Yeah. In the like I don't know if you saw, but like Big Bad Bertha, the like, I guess she's like a porn actress and like somewhat of a real actress. I did like an interview with her, and like part of the reason I did that interview was because she was in this Going Hog Wild. I was like, I need to find somebody in this movie that might have like a VHS copy, and like her life was completely like messed up. She got like arrested for like molesting like a young boy or something like that. She's like failed acting and like moved to the UK with somebody who plays Santa Claus, and it's insane. And I was like, oh, this would be like perfect for a documentary. Let me do this like article, then like finish this and like get back to it. And she died like a week after I interviewed her, so R.I.P. And like I wanted to know like everything she had to say, but like it's sad that I missed out on that opportunity. But
Well, I can't really follow that story up that good, but I'm like really into, I love the Munsters, and there was a company called Ambus Video that put out a series called Grandpa Presents, where they got Al Lewis to reprise his role as Grandpa Munster, but they can't use that name, so they just call him Grandpa and spelled it Grampa. And he's kind of like a horror host in like an Elvira kind of sort, except unlike the Elvira videos, every public domain horror movie they put out was, they all had the same stock intro. And basically they took Al Lewis, threw him in a tuxedo, put a bunch of white makeup on him, and then said, here, introduce this movie. And they stuck him in front of a green screen with what seems to be no script at all. And he just like goes around telling like really awful jokes, and he like starts off like at a beach that looks like it was like created in Microsoft Paint. And then like he finally like looks at the camera and he's like, I'm so happy you guys are gonna watch one of my favorite movies. Igor, tell him the movie. And Igor the Bat, who is never on screen, at that point would say the title of the movie that you're watching. Except they didn't put that on half the tapes. So Al Lewis just like looks at the screen and goes like this. And it's pure silence. And I don't know how many of these were released. We've like I've done some research.
at least 30.
At least 30, maybe upwards of like 50. And I have, because it's all public domain shit, and I have like 15 to 20 of them like at the moment. So like, well, they're not on Grandpa. I buy anything on that company, and it's all just the worst shit imaginable, but I buy it. And so
Grandpa rates each movie 2 out of how many bats.
Yeah, out of bats. Oh, and you remember how we thought it was only out of 3 bats? I got to mention 13. There's a 4th bat.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
He gave Carnival of Souls 3 bats.
Yeah, he gave Carnival of Souls 3 bats, and we're like, well, that has to be the best. And now I just got Dementia 13, and he apparently really loved that. So I won all of those. Those are my holy grails. And also they did a cardboard display for video stores that I've seen like a picture of. And I doubt any of them like still exist. But if I like ever find one, that's like just the day I can die, I guess.
That all sounds spectacular. So, we have time for maybe 2 more questions. Anybody else? Questions?
I see a guy in the back there.
Yes, guy in the back.
You was kind of like looking around like, are you talking to me? You? Is that you, or are you taking a drink?
Okay, I don't think there's a question.
Okay.
So, that's it. I really want to thank you guys so much for being here tonight.
Thank you.
And these guys have t-shirts for sale. They have more VHS tapes for sale down in the lobby.
Yeah, if you can.
T-shirts. We have 2.
T-shirts we have, so if you want one, we're out front.
$20. We have the full color one, black and white, both are double-sided, and 100% cotton.
And this will help support us on the whole tour that we're doing, so I guess thanks everyone for coming.
Yeah, thank you.